Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Mike Brightman. My company's Brightman Designs. And yes, I do design homes in Denver, Colorado, make the Condoc Tools extension, amongst other things. So today we're going to be working on our poster for the SketchUp 2025 or the 2025 3D Summit. Basically, we're going to be working through match photo. I got to brush up on my match photo skills and mess around in layout and kind of using SketchUp and layout for something a little bit different, more of creating vector art. But in the process of doing that, as we work through match photo, we're going to import, geolocate the model, import the site, grab some high resolution aerial imagery, set up our match photo, and then we're going to do some real architectural modeling. And so even though I'm using this model for a poster, just to create some artwork, this could be used for creating like context models for rendering, or it could be used to, model in existing conditions, primarily exterior, although it works on the interior. And we'll see if I have I probably won't have time to do an interior one today. But maybe we'll carry on. We'll see how this goes, and maybe we'll make a second version of the poster, or maybe I won't like the exterior version. I'm pretty sure it'll turn out okay though. So, anyways, if you caught the post, we're gonna do a sneak peek here at our new venue. So, the 3D Summit is the show, and hey, what's up, guys? Good morning and welcome back, Steven. Glad to have you guys both here. So the 3D Summit was like a mini conference we put on this summer at the Catbird Hotel in Denver. And let's see, let's hop right in and start doing something here, right? So at 3D Summit, SketchUp3dSummit.brightmandesigns.com. Okay, so yeah, and there's a video, and yeah, we kind of threw this video together quick, and the 2025 3D Summit is, tickets aren't on sale yet. We're going to start those in 2025. But if you scroll down, there's like a bunch of photos. This just gives you kind of an idea of how everything went. That's kind of dragging slow, but we had an excellent lineup of speakers. We had like 18 attendees, 8 speakers, I believe it was. And it was a blast. Yeah. So anyways, let's talk about what we're doing next year. And here's a video I whipped up real quick. This is from on Monday. We finally got this sorted out where right like just a block away from our last location, this is industry. So check this out. This is pretty cool. This is just a little 360 walkthrough I did. So cool little lobby with a cafe, and they got all the catering in-house. And then, of course, they got their Halloween decorations up. But check out this little auditorium they have. It holds 100, but we're going to shoot for 50 attendees. That's the plan. And so really a cool space with, like the ping pong table and projector on the wall. Acoustics are really good. It's really a cool spot. So let's see. Let's also look at, I have a folder open here. And I just took a few photos I thought I'd show you. So that's the idea there. So yeah, we're going to have our event next summer in this spot here. Super cool. I think this would make a good poster too. As I, literally just as I was kind of sitting down thinking it through, I thought, this is kind of a cool shape, like with these stairs and everything. So maybe we could come up with something interesting with that. So let me say this for anyone who's, kind of new to what I'm doing on these live streams. And basically, I don't plan for these. I went out to industry on Monday to kind of have the final walkthrough, and I plugged in, made sure all, kind of like made sure that all the AV stuff is going to work the way I want it to work. And so we're all good. So I went out there, took a few photos and took some videos, and got back to my office, got back to work, and then pretty much 15 minutes before we started here, I just opened up some of these images. The point is that I don't want to have like a scripted know exactly 100% where I'm going with these. You know, we're going to just open the files, get started. I'm going to talk through it, and we'll go for either like an hour or two typically. Although recently it's been more like an hour. So we'll see how it goes either way, but you're always welcome to throw me a message in the chat panel and say what's up to everybody. That's cool. And let's keep going. Let's get started here. So we can look at some more of these photos here, I suppose. We can just kind of get through these. And, you know, this is a good example of like, all right, so when it comes to match photo, let's see. So just a quick run through these. So I can tell you that this photo is likely to be of value. And yeah, and then detail photos. All right, so let me back up here. All right, so let's see, and can barely hear me. Let's see, is my are my levels coming okay? Is anyone else having a hard time hearing me? I want to make a funny remark and just say turn up the volume, but yeah, I think everything looks good on my end as far as I can tell. You know, and I'm hesitant to mess with my audio levels, so okay. Yeah, I haven't messed with anything, so maybe just check your settings there. You know, check your YouTube volume and also check, you know, your computer volume. So there might be something up on your end. Let's see. Okay, so Match Photo is this feature inside of SketchUp where you can take a photograph of a building and then you can like superimpose it on your SketchUp screen and then, you know, like sketch over it and produce a 3D model from these 2D images. And the best way to do it is to kind of like work with your aerial imagery as well as your photograph. So let's get going here, setting this up. I suppose the first thing you would want to do is go to, typically I would go to add location, but you know what I found? Oh, of course, yeah, let's just cancel that. Forget it. Let's go to Placemaker. It seems like Placemaker has really just been a little bit better for this. So this is going to import a flat geolocated low-res aerial snapshot. If you don't have Placemaker, you can just go to geolocation. But I know, oh God, and this is like, you know, I seem to be having some issues with this too. Let's just go File, Add Location. What is SketchUp doing here? We got something up with the internet. So add location is just kind of not doing anything. I didn't expect that. And yeah, internet's rock solid. My stream is rock solid. So what's up with my internet or with my add location? You know what I was doing earlier was looking at like a beta, and do I have like a dialogue floating somewhere? This is just great. Okay, so this just popped in, and I believe that this is the. Let me close this and start again. Let's go to File and choose Add Location, and let me just see who was kind of choking there. Was that Placemaker or was that SketchUp? Okay. Nothing's happening. I'm going to restart SketchUp. Let's try that. Sometimes that's just a better approach. But anyway, I was going to say that I was messing with like a beta and I had to sign out of all of my computers and then turn it back on, and I don't know. All right, so let's get rid of that. File. Add location. Please sign in. Okay, so that's what was up. All right, so now this is like constant, man. It's like I'm always signing in. Yep. Oh, and of course I got to sign in over here to get, I got to sign in, add a password to get a password. And now, there you go. All right. So now we're signed in. That was the issue. All right. So geolocating the model. All right. We're going to type in, I'm going to type in industry RiNo station and see if I get what I want out of that. Okay. This is it. Yep. So like those photographs I was taking, I was like walking along here. So this looks pretty good. So I guess we could like grab this. So, you know, I think it's a better idea to start with the free stuff for anyone who doesn't have Placemaker. All right, and this is kind of a new dialogue here. I'm gonna grab, I really don't need a ton of context. So let's sort out like just a little area that I need. And I do want to grab this entire building. All right, so the idea behind this poster is that I want to kind of catch the flavor of the architecture of where we're going to be at. So that is essentially like this facade is what I'm envisioning on the poster, like that. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'll get just a little bit more over here, and we're going to bring in satellite imagery. For this particular project, I don't want to bring in the 3D mesh. I can tell you that it's like always easier to work, like if a site is pretty much flat, just assume that it's flat. Because as soon as you bring in terrain, it gets more complicated. Not that it can't be done, it's just that this site is definitely rather flat, and we're just gonna make the assumption that that's the case. All right, so we'll bring in our satellite imagery and import that. And all right, so looks good, we'll close that. And then let's just take a look at it. And so I gotta be honest, like that's pretty good. I mean, you know, that's like enough for me to trace out this building. You know, what I'm looking for is just the ability to like make out the site and what's going on. And, you know, I can barely make out the stairs. So let's try it. Let's see, like, if I were to open up Placemaker, I think I'm allowed to work off of this one that came in from, I think I'm allowed to work off the one that came in from SketchUp. So we'll go to our imagery, and I don't know, I guess I always just assume that near map is the best. And let's hit import imagery. Okay, so I do need to make a geosurface using Placemaker, and I think I see it right here. All right, so let's just do that. So we're gonna select this area, and yeah, making sure I just grab all that, and we'll import that area. I'm going to turn off my location. Oh, I'm sorry. Turn off the geolocation content. And then we're going to select this. And then we're going to bring in near map. All right. So let's see if that gets any better. And also want to see how much it's going to cost me. If it's more than like 100 credits, yeah, that's no big deal. So 32 credits, I'm willing to do that. I can tell you that like we're close to Black Friday. Yo-ho, John Brock stepping in. Black Friday, these Placemaker, they always run a nice sale on Black Friday, so you can double up on your credits there. So let's grab those and just see what this looks like. See how much better it is. Oh man, look at that. That is why Placemaker rocks. Look at, see now, I mean, I can literally make out the steps, and I could definitely trace this path very clearly. And if I look at the difference, you know, I mean, yeah, the path was fine. You know, this would have worked, but you can also see that like, oh, yeah, it looks complete. I was gonna say, is it like not complete all the way, but so we're gonna stick with the Placemaker imagery. Just much easier to zoom in and look at that. I mean, you can see the cracks in the sidewalk. So I would imagine that like something along the lines of like this view would be pretty cool. So let's work on that. And you know, while we're at it here, I did use the that 360 camera, and I got some other cool shots of the outside. So here, oh, and hold up. We can go to, what was it? I think it was Control Shift F. Yeah, full screen. And so like with that 360 camera now, we can just kind of like walk through here, and I can kind of steer where I'm looking. And so it was a perfect day for taking pictures. It had just rained. This is like the Lumion settings I always use, right? So this would be, I think this is kind of a good angle, although we're going to need to get closer. And, you know, when I think of the movie or the poster, check this out, huh? That'll be a fun effect. Right through the grasses. And then, you know, probably something like that, you know, so that we're, like, I want to leave plenty of room up high. I want to catch the stairs and the sign for sure, a little bit of the flavor of the building. And, you know, that's kind of what this poster is going to be all about. So we could also be keeping in mind, like, how much do we really want to be modeling here, right? Like, so keeping, yeah, that's it. Keeping in mind, like, that you don't want to build what you're not going to use, right? All right, and oh, and then here's, this one's kind of fun too. So this is coming from the other side, like that. And it's nice to have shots like this just to go revisit, especially with that 360 camera, because you can really just go back and revisit it and take a look. And, you know, if you kind of forgot what something is or didn't catch it with a photograph, you know, we have the information here to go and, like, pause this and then, like, zoom in and, you know, see what we're looking at. So I will say that 360 camera, that was one of those purchases where I was a little hesitant. Like, is this just something that I want, or is this, like, something that I need? And I got to be honest, it turned out to be both. So, and this is pretty cool, too. So, you know, thinking about... this is pretty cool because you get these other buildings in the background. So that might be a consideration as well for when we set this up. All right. So let's get, I guess that's, you know, kind of a nice overview. And we've got our aerial imagery in here. And we're going to need to mess with our axes, which is always a little challenging with Match Photo. So we'll see what comes of it. I'm going to go to, in SketchUp, we're going to set our axes. Really what you always want to do is set your axes at the front bottom corner of the building. All right, so like I'm going to call this the front bottom corner like this. And, you know, if I kind of like stretch it out like this, we can set our axes to align like that. All right, so let's go look at our photographs that we have for Match Photo, and, you know, kind of back to this idea. And so I want to get it over at the end of this building here. So it was kind of one of the last ones I took, and unfortunately that truck was there. So I think what we're gonna do is use this like this patio or loading dock, whatever you want to call it. We're going to use that as the front bottom corner. And what I'm looking for is catching like plenty of perpendicular elements. So like, you know, I got a nice roof line here. I've got like this, you know, this canopy line, this line, and then of course everything looks good running down the building there. This is going to be enough for me to get like the building scaled and kind of like lay out the general gesture of this building. But yeah, unfortunately that truck parked there. All right, so we'll just go like this. And, you know, because that placemaker imagery, we can really see, you know, this is not an exact science. So I'm just going to place it like right here. I can't tell if that's the shadow or the what am I looking at? So this would appear to hang out over that loading dock. So I think we're kind of like right in there. All right, so I'll go with this guy here, and good enough for me. Okay. All right, so now then we're gonna go to our rectangle tool, and I'm just gonna kind of trace out, you know, we'll kind of trace out the patio, and you could make a decision right up front here as to how accurate you want to be. So you could go with like model info units and set your length snapping to like an inch. You know, that would be a one strategy that would be okay to go for. So 1 inch, do I have to hit inch like that? And so see, now when you look at my dimensions, my measurements dialog box in the bottom right corner, you can see I'm getting round numbers. I don't know if that's going to matter, but I just kind of like those clean numbers. So let's go with that for now. And I'm just going to like trace it like that, and then trace this big building. We'll just kind of come over here like that, and then I'll just draw another line in here like that, and that looks pretty good. All right, so now you've got like, you know, the surface for the building. And whenever I'm working on a match photo, I always pull the building way up high, like exaggerate it. And then I would pull this up, you know, again, exaggerate it like that. And now we're going to, I'm going to save this. That's always a good idea right away. So we'll go to our 3D Summit. And I haven't quite built out this folder structure, this project yet, but we'll say 3D Summit poster 1. All right. Now I need to, we're going to go to our scenes, and let me just check this. These aren't holding on to anything other than visible tags. So I forget some of the functionality in Condoc. When I hit reset, it's going to create our design scene. Right now I'm just going to use flex, and when I hit reset, that's going to create a design scene, and I just can't remember if it like uses my current axes or not. So now we have a design scene, and yeah, it did. Okay, we're good. And then I always like my design scene to be at the far left over there, like that. All right, so I think we're in good shape, and I'm just checking my live stream here, making sure we're still running. Okay. All right, so now I need to bring in a photograph, and we're going to use a photograph that is on the, looking at like the front bottom corner. So I placed my axes right here, and so that's going to be a good candidate for placing that. And then, oh, look at that, the roof kind of goes up and over there. That's interesting. Okay, so image that ends in 208. So we can go now, we can kind of like position ourselves close to that, and then go to camera, match new photo, and let's go to our ends in 208. All right, like that. So we're gonna open that photo. All right, and now I need to place my axes of the match photo right where I placed the axes on my site. And this is where it gets messy. Like right now, I don't want to see all this extra stuff. So I'm going to turn my model off in the match photo toggle. And that way I can just focus on this, like, you know, getting these axes bars to align with parallel elements on the building. I'm assuming that this is like a flat roof and that is not sloped. I could kind of check it and see, I might be wrong. I think that the safer play is to assume that like the top of these windows are all going to be level together. So I might use those. And then this other red axis bar, I could use like, you could probably assume that this is level or at least close to, like that. And then, yeah, so now I'm questioning, I don't know if this is like that actually the whole thing would appear to kind of ramp up. So I don't think we can use that roof line. So we'll use this guy here and stretch it over there. And then this one, we're going to use like, that patio should be close to level, like that. All right, so that's pretty decent. And then we can turn our model on, like that. Now remember, when we traced the model, the extents of the model are accurate, or the length and the width are accurate. The height is not. And now that I'm looking at this photo, I don't know if this is the best one because I didn't catch the end of the building in this photo. So let's take a look. And what I was getting at is that now you want to scale your photo and see, I'm looking for like this line here to align with the end. I mean, it's going to be something, like that. But unfortunately, I don't know for sure. So let me go look at my photos again. And see, this would be a better one. Same photo, just about. And I almost kind of remember doing this where now you can actually see the end of it. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to hide this. And let's get like this little roof bump in there. And I'm just looking to see if there's like another marker that I could play off of, like say for instance, if I were to mark the end of this, I don't think I can really see that either. That truck. Well, when this bumps out, I do see that corner, so I think it all is not lost. So like I think that we're seeing this. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here, like that. Pull it out, and again, I like to exaggerate because when I exaggerate, then I know that like it needs to be fixed and dialed in. All right, and even though this isn't like a critical piece of my building, this is going to help me to get it scaled and aligned. All right, so now let's see. I'm going to right click on the photo and edit match photo, and then we're going to scale this thing again. And yeah, so now what I'm looking at is right here. This line is, the verticals, like that's going to be what helps me line things up. I set this line based on the, aerial imagery. And now I'm scaling the whole model like that. And, that looks about right. So that's what's going to help us set the height. And it looks like we can orbit around like this. I'm going to go to Window, Model Info, Animation, and we're going to turn off our transitions. I don't want to see those. And here's a little trick. You can use the Push-Pull tool. So use the Push-Pull tool and click on a surface, and then go click on this Scene tab. And now I can set the height of that. And so see what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of eyeballing it like that. And because my length snapping is set to 1 inch, we get a clean, a clean dimension. All right, I can orbit into 3D, click on the roof, go back to this scene, and see now I'm setting the height of this. And yeah, I guess what I'm seeing is that like the top roof line, it kind of ramps up. So I'm guessing that like that other roof might be flat, and not critical for what we're doing though. And I'm just gonna set like the peak of this roof like that, and then we're gonna set our loading dock or our patio here like that. And so then you can start chipping away. All right, so like match photo, I used to do this a lot. I don't know, I would, for renderings, we'd grab context buildings and I'd just knock out these models real quick. They're kind of fun because it's like solving a puzzle. You know, you're working with all the little pieces that you have to kind of get it sorted out and properly scaled. So anyways, I'm just kind of taking a look at the live stream. Everything's looking okay. Let me see something here. This video, yeah. All right, I think we're good. I'm just kind of, my preview in YouTube Studio is way behind. I'm gonna turn that off because it distracted me. Okay, so we've got like kind of a mass model going there, and so now you can continue to chip away. You know, you can like pull this out and, you know, like looking for little clues, you know, like where does this patio stretch out to? And, you know, as I'm looking at this, I think it actually kind of goes like this, you know, probably more like that. And yeah, so we're going to start chipping away. All right, this will be up here like that. And then I can tap Control, pull that out. And then you can always sample a material and then paint it on top. This is kind of challenging when you end up with a situation like this, you know, where, you know, because we use Placemaker, you know, the tiles are kind of out of whack. So let's solve that problem. This one's fine. Let's go back here. And so, like, you know, you can see everything's kind of lining up. I'm going to undo. Yeah, we're good right where we were. So at some point, too, you start to, like, abandon the photo and just start working off of the model itself. We can work in this way, too. We can copy this up, and then push-pull. We'll draw a rectangle here like that, and then push-pull this like that, and see how it's like lining up. And then we could orbit around, and you could push-pull again. Push-pull, click on this to start your push-pull, go back over here, and then, you know, you can kind of like zoom way over here and see if you can just kind of catch where that thing is ending. I mean, it might be something more like that. So, all right, but point is, we'll just keep chipping away. Also, as I'm going to, I might like copy this and then push-pull this back and then clear this out and paste in place and group it, you know, so that you're always making groups and you don't get too far gone on that. So that looks pretty good. And let's see. So we could take this line and make a copy of it straight back on the red, like, and, you know, you can zoom in like that, see where that lands. Here's the other thing you can do is, like, you can just select like this surface here, and you can project, let's see, project photo like this. And because I have that surface selected, it's just going to project it only on that surface. I'll say no to trimming those. And so now, you know, you end up with, like, you know, these windows on here. So you can start to sketch some of that out too. Like this and like this. Well, and actually what I would do is the first one, I would draw like a clean line like that, and then check my measurement. See, 8.3 by 5.9. Maybe I'd say, like, call it like 8 foot by 6 foot. 6 foot like that. And then I'll just make that into a component and then make a copy of it like that, and we'll do it 3x enter. And maybe I want to like check my dimension again, you know, like what is it? We're close to like 10, 10, 10. So yeah, it looks like about 11 feet. So I'll type in 11 feet and then do that 3 times enter like that. There you go. All right, so that's how you just start chipping away at this thing. I'm kind of not sure what to do about. I use the aerial imagery a lot. Let me see how closely my aerial imagery lines up with my geolocation stuff. So I'm gonna unlock this and then hide it. I mean, it's pretty close. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, let's take a look at this. And you know, you can see the tiles that it's broken into. Another strategy might be to merge, like, these are the ones I'm going to be using. So here's what I'm going to do is make a copy of this straight down by 50 feet like that. And I'll hide it for now. And then let's just check this and see what we can do. Like maybe we can merge these tiles here because this is the zone. So I can combine those textures. The only issue here is that it's going to lower the quality. So we'll erase those into your edges. I think that looks pretty good. All right. So when you select several different textures, you can combine them. And now, so now what we can do, like if you remember when I was messing with the, let's turn off our geolocation content and then we're going to, let's see, I guess I thought I pulled this over, but let's do this to there and to there. And now I can sample this material and, you know, not get that effect where it was kind of messing up on me there. All right, so it looks like this guy pushes back to here roughly. And then we can like, you know, paint this on top. Actually, I'm going to double click in, paint it on top. All right, so these are like two different, this is one canopy and this is another. So for this, I guess I would just, I would like push pull this over to here like that. And then maybe make a copy of it like that. And then make another copy of this like that. And then we're just going to push pull this down, get rid of that. And I think what I'm seeing here is that this, these little, I think these little pieces here are the letters on the sign. And then this is going to come back to there like that. All right. Cool. All right. And then, you know, you could pick some generic textures too, like, if we go back over here and look at our asphalt and concrete, you know, I can just kind of paint the top of this patio like that. Let's take a look at, let's look at those photos. I want to kind of sort out what this roof is doing. I'm going to hide everything and see if there's like a, I need to turn off my hidden geometry. You know, I'm just looking for a clue on the roof as to what's going on. I don't see any, well, yeah, like you can kind of see right here, like see the shadow. You can really see the slope happening there. And I think that this is all flat over here. So I think that the slope is really kind of right there is where that slope happens. Let's go look at our photos again and see if, and you know, it's kind of nice to have multiple screens here and get your photos going over here. So it's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. This is like a challenging match photos. I think that's sloping up towards us like this. And then this guy has like a peak on it. But what's going to be challenging because of, you know, where I was taking those photographs from, it was kind of hard to get a good idea. Man, yeah, because like I couldn't step way back and catch the whole thing all at once. So I think what we're going to be working off of is going to be, you know, these windows should all be aligned. I'll bet you they're all aligned. That would be like a good assumption to make. Or at least, yeah. And then let's check our 360 camera again. That's going to be kind of handy. You know, like I said, for just checking different views. Yeah, see, I lean towards a safe assumption is that like the top of these windows kind of carries on that way. We'll test it, and the top of these windows or doors very likely carries on down there. That's my guess. If I were designing this building from scratch, I would definitely not get those out of alignment. But not to say that somebody else didn't design it differently for one reason or another. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to pick up like whether they're the same style even. Yeah. All right. Yeah, definitely a lot of slopes that, like, I didn't realize this, you know, when I picked this task, like, it's okay. You know, like right in the middle of this is where that peak is. So that's kind of one marker. And then if we go down the line here, you know, it kind of like the end of that peak is right at the edge of that last garage door, or I don't know if those are windows or doors. So if we can like kind of plot that point, you know, we could probably be in good shape. Let's go see what we got here. So if I unhide everything and go look at this, and then let's make a copy of this line on the green, and I'll make a guideline. So we'll just run this on the green all the way down here, and then, you know, just kind of pick this point. Keep in mind too that your photograph becomes less and less accurate the further away it gets. All right, so let's see where that landed. And I mean, does that check out? Like, I'm claiming that, you know, this angle starts about where, you know, roughly 10 feet off of that planter. So this angle here, you know, you come down, this is the planter. So, you know, I'm a little off. Like, I would say if I were judging off of this, I'd call it like maybe, let's just call it a clean 4 feet. All right, so maybe I would just say something like this. Let's call it 5 feet, like that. All right. And so then, you know, again, it's not like an exact science, right? And so now I can like split this edge by just retracing it. And then I could go up by, say, I'll just say 10 feet for now, and we'll check what it looks like. And then I can pull this back by, I'll just say 8 inches. And then we can go look, and I'll select this while we go look at it, like this. All right, so I think that this is coming down. And so what we need to do, I'm going to undo this. I'm going to make this a group. And then we got to get this slope happening here. So like drawing with the line tool straight down roughly to there. And let me just check my like if I'm drawing down to there, let's call it 5 feet. And then we're going to come up to here like that. All right, and then I can carve that piece out like that. And then we'll carve this piece back like that. And then group and delete that. And now I got things all messed up. So we'll group and delete this. I just want to kind of clean up a little bit. And group and delete that. Oh man, now I've got things all wonky. Sometimes when that happens, it's best just to like trash all this, kind of get that gone, and then recreate it by just pulling this back out like that. So now you've got that nice clean geometry, and then I'll paste in place. And now this, I think it was going like, comes down, right? So now, you know, roughly starts like that, and then, you know, we'll just kind of eyeball the height to be something like that. So like I was saying, as the photo goes back, it becomes less and less accurate. I would almost say that, like, you know, you could make some judgments in this area, but really relying on the match photo way back there, I probably wouldn't. So now, so yeah, let's get our entrance carved out so we could, like, you know, drop this in, and then we could potentially throw like a guideline, you know, start the guideline, go up on the blue, and say, like, you know, that's the top of that form right there. And then we could, you know, go back over here and say, like, you know, if I scoot over, and you can see that, you know, it comes in, you know, kind of, you know, it's all centered up on this. So maybe it'd be a good idea to just knock out, you know, this piece here and use that to center up all of our geometry, because this is like the, you know, the gem of our poster. So this is what we want to be more detailed and accurate. And all this stuff over here is going to be like, you know, just we'll copy an array and fill it in, and that's, well, it may or may not even make it into the poster. We'll see. All right. And so let's do that. All right. So when I drill in here, sometimes if I make this into a unique texture, it cleans up, but this one didn't. So I'm just trying to, like, get an understanding. I can see this little bump out here, and you can see that, you know, I plotted it there. So we're really close, you know. So we're gonna call it, like, you know, I would start working off of this one, like snapping to my midpoint, right? So that's like 14, 1.5, 14, 1.5, and then as far as the building goes, I would just draw a rectangle like this, and I would pull it out like that, and, you know, I'm just matching like what I can see here, like that. All right, so that's kind of the idea here. And then this is going to be its own group, and this is going to be its own group, and then I can explode that because I don't need those two canopies, you know, on their own there. All right, so now, you know, just checking my my alignments, you can see that, like, that brick kind of lands between these two, and so that brick, yeah, we got it, like, you know, in pretty good shape here. And there's kind of a it's just hard to, you know, kind of understand what's going on with the shadows and everything, but yeah, so like this beam that goes across there, I believe that is this beam here, and then there's like the front and this one. Okay. So, you know, we could start to make some assumptions so that we're kind of, you know, working within some rules. And I would call those like this distance, maybe it's like 4 inches. And for this, you could also kind of go look like, whenever you're taking your photos, um, whenever you're taking photos for match photo, it's a good idea to get those close-ups. So you definitely want to get the overalls where you're catching the whole building with, where it ends on ideally both sides, at least one, with the full building height in the photo. So catch all that from as many views as you can, especially when you're just using your camera phone. It's, just rattle off those photos, because you never know. Like, you always miss something. And then get those close-ups, because like right now, we can, drill in and start looking at like, what we got going on here with, how these, these beams kind of come together and form this canopy. So we're going to call this like 4 inches. All of these guys look like 4 inches to me. Maybe 6. We'll see. All right. So we can do this. I'm going to check my dimensions. Again, I'm just as an added, kind of a tutorial to bake in here is like, let's make this thing accurate. So like when I look at the dimension here, this is at tilde 28.3. All right. So I'm going to scale this whole thing about the center and type in 28 foot 3 inches, enter. And now I can get this to be a perfect 28 foot 3. So with the scale tool, you can type in the feet and inches and force it to scale to a specific dimension, not just a scale factor. Now I would start chipping away, and like, we're calling this 4 inches. I think it's probably 6. All right, so we're gonna go with 6 inches like that. And then I can use my guidelines and, sort this out. This is, we'll call it like 30 inches, and then maybe another 6 inches back. And then this guy right here, yeah, it's just barely floating off the door there. We're gonna say come off. We're gonna draw a guideline to the wall, and then we can pull another guide off of there. And I guess we'll just call it 9 inches. That looks right. 6 inches out like that. All right, and then let's strike our center line like that. And then we're gonna come off the center. It says 8.1. We're just gonna call it 8 feet, and then 6 inches, and then 8 feet and 6 inches. Yeah, that all looks good. And yeah, looks good. Looks good. Cool. That. All right. So now we can kind of like break this guy into pieces here. All right. And let's get our, let's get this kind of mapped out. So we'll get our, whenever you're kind of getting jammed up on that inference, like I'm not getting that intersection, I can hover on edge and hold shift and then put my cursor here and click. And, now I'm getting that clean inference line like that and like that. Hide rest of model. We're going to pull this down like that. And now we're cleaned out. And like that. And okay. Like that. All right, and then we need to kind of continue to break this down and then eventually get it turned into components. So we're gonna go like this. And, so like this guy can be a component, and, we'll make this into a component. I don't name components ever. Make a copy of it to here. And then, like this run along the front, like this can be a component like that. And then we could just, use that new flip tool, tap control, and then let me see, with the green, flip it over there like that. And then we can do, you know, make this into a component like that. And then we have these other two, like, you know, this piece here that anchors back into the brick. All right, so we're gonna do another component like this, roughly. And we'll say like that is going to be a component. And then I could just, I'll do the flip tool again and tap control and then flip along like that. All right. So now, you know, I set my depth at 1'7". I might just make it a clean 18. All right. So now I should be able to like kind of trash all this and then have kind of that framework back in place. So now I could like pull these guys down by 18 and then I can start to, you know, assign like a color to them. And so maybe I would just grab, you know, this dark gray and I'm going to reverse my face. We're going to undo, 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 reverse the face and like that. And then I'm going to use my push-pull tool, and we're going to do the same push-pull. And we're going to go like that and just kind of like sketch this thing out. Also, I don't need my guides anymore. I can clear those out of there. And this one, I can delete that stuff. These are all like the W shapes, right? These guys, as far as I can tell, I can't tell if they're like a channel shape or, see, there's like a channel scenario on that side, and then there is the same thing on that side. So these are like the W flange shapes. So, and like when I'm going around the outside, those are the same thing. All right, so I think that like what I'm going to do is take these guys, group them, and then explode everything, and we're just gonna make like one follow me to make this shape. All right. And so to do that, you know, I want everything to delete everything except this stuff, and I'm going to delete this stuff too, and then we're going to draw that shape in right here. And so, you know, if I make a copy of this at like let's just call it 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch, and then we'll draw our middle there, make a copy at 1/2 inch, and you know, we'll just leave it like that, 0.25, and then get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of these, and then I can triple click to select all connected geometry, Control Shift double click to remove this surface and its bounding edges from the selection, and then I can go to my follow me tool and then click on that surface to get that to zip all the way around, and then activate my paint bucket tool, tap shift. Let's see, I kind of got off of that material, and so we're good there. All right, so that's kind of the idea. All right, so now we do have our shape made. I'm gonna copy that shape, and you know, this would definitely, I'm sure this would be a good job for Profile Builder, but I'm just not real savvy with Profile Builder. I should probably be better with that. I'm gonna paste it and then drop this in place like that, and then you know, we can like pull this across like this, and of course I turned it inside out, so we'll patch that up. Let's turn inside out again and paint it like that. All right, and then we'll go these guys we can get sorted. So I can paste this in there, and then we can like rotate this about the blue by 90, and then move that over there like that. Same drill, extrude that across the way, and yeah, so I lost the top there. That's okay. And then paint it, and yeah, turn it inside out, paint it again. When I say turn it inside out, I'm reversing the faces so that I can get rid of the aerial imagery that was kind of like lingering there. If we do like any sort of photoreal rendering, I just want to keep the textures clean. Really, where I'm going with this is like I'm going to build this as a nice clean model, and then it's going to, this will show up in a bunch of thumbnails and artwork and stickers, and I'm going to end up using this for a bunch of stuff. So it's probably worthwhile to build it in a clean way with clean textures, and maybe we'll want to like render it in Lumion at some point or do different things with it. So let's see. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna grab a quick cup of coffee. If you guys hang tight for me, give me 2 seconds here. You ever make a pot of coffee and then forget to drink it? I do it all the time. Leave me alone, John Brock. I don't want to hear it. Let's see. All right, looking good. So, we can kind of hop back over here, and you check in with this stuff, and I mean, it looks close. It's all good. Eventually you abandon the match photo pictures. So before I copy this over, like really, I think what we're going to be able to do is kind of copy these pieces over and reuse them to make this other canopy. Because when I look down the line here, I would definitely assume it's a similar construction that they used. So let's. And I'm just looking for any other little details that would really jump out at me. I'm not seeing anything that would, really jam up a rendering, Like they're pretty clean. It looks like clean welds, and, I don't see any other details that would really need to get in there. So let's do this. On here, I am going to go like this. I'm going to take this portion and pull it back to here, and let's just kind of get this cleaned up a little bit. And then I'm going to hide rest a model, and then I'm going to break the surface like that, and break the surface like that, and then we're going to pull it out, and I'm going to hide rest a model and just pull it to there, and that way it kind of goes all the way. And then I'll tell you what I'm going to do then is we're going to duplicate these, and we're going to mirror them, and we're going to like tap control and then flip it along the center point here like that. And then while they're selected, let me scoot them back into place while they're selected like that. And then both of those are selected. We're going to make them unique. That way they no longer are connected to these guys. I can hide rest a model, and then I can scoot this surface in, and then now I'll get a clean snap right there. All right, so that's a cleaner way to model that. I am meticulous with this stuff. Is there any plate? Yeah, what are we? Kind of like just a clean connection there, huh? All right. So now I think what I'll do is just make a copy of this from this corner, tap Control and then snap it to that corner. And then I'm going to, that is a group, I would assume. Yeah, group. And then we hop in the group, and now I just need to be a little bit careful about, like, you know, not messing when I'm modifying these components. Like, for instance, this guy. This is a solid group, all right? So we're good there. So I can just kind of take this and scoot it to the end like this, all right? And then I'm kind of curious, like, where does this guy actually end? So let's go look at that maybe in our photos. Yeah, it ends like like really right there. That's cool. And then this little double up, I wonder if it happens on the other side. I think I got to go back to my 360. It does. Yeah, so they got it, you know, pretty symmetrical there, it would appear. Yeah, so then we can take these guys and run these back like that. And then I can, you know, I can barely see. Let's see, we've got one. You got 1, 2, like horizontals there. So it's like one here. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this, and then we're gonna move these into place. And you know, that would be about like that. And then yeah, it's just hard to make out, like if I'm looking at shadows, and then it looks like there's another one right here. Okay, so this is where you want to like make these guys unique, and we'll just make this unique because I know I'm gonna mess with that. We'll make this unique like that. And you know, perhaps I would want to make a copy of this and check my dimensions. We'll call it like 6 feet like that. And then we'll, like, you know, sort this guy out like this, like that. And I'm just making a selection. You know, when I make that selection from above, I know I'm grabbing all of that surface, and like that. And then this guy can go back to the wall like this, and then use my move tool like that. And yeah, I think this is like the I think I got it. Yeah. And then this is gonna scoot. Let's just put it all the way over to the edge and then move it by looks like 18 inches like that. And then let me check my overall dimension here, you know, from here to here. So again, that's not like a clean number. It's got that little tilde. Doesn't matter, but I'm just gonna kind of stretch this whole thing in. So when I check my dimensions here, we're looking at 69 foot 8 1/4, like that. So you know, what I might do is just, let's go 69 feet 8.25, enter, like that. And then we're gonna scoot this piece just a tiny little bit. Yeah, talk about not worrying about not getting too hung up on details. It's not in my DNA. Like that. And then these guys, we're going to check our dimensions here again. Like this. You know, just kind of re-snap them there. And then these guys here are going to scoot all the way over. Yep. You can see that those are off now, just a touch. 18 inches like that. And then, you know, checking these pieces right here. So what we're going to need is like that same drill where I'll use my rectangle tool to kind of get 2 lines and then push pull, and the dimension there, what is that, 2 3/4, like that. All right, so like at this point, see, I've got the massing sorted out, and so I really don't need it anymore. It's kind of in my way. And so now what we can do is just get rid of it. I don't think, well, let's see, we can count our divisions over here, and again, making an assumption that like our divisions are going to be equal, which I think they are. They look equal to me. All right, let's copy these around, and then we're gonna make this into a component like that, and then we're gonna get rid of that one, and then I'm gonna copy. We're gonna strike a line 18 inches off of here, like that, and then I'm gonna make a copy of this component down the line, like that, and then we're gonna say what, like 6 divisions. There you go. And see, they kind of lined up, you know? We nailed that. These guys, we should be able to just scoot this down the line, like this. And then these guys are now, you know, this repeating element. So now these just need to kind of flip over. And at this point, I would definitely say, let's trash that. And let's jump in here. And we're going to mirror again with our flip more so. Tab Control, snap to my midpoint like that. And then this is going to become a unique component. And then we'll stretch this down the line like this and like that. All right, so when it comes to a rendering, I mean, that's going to be kind of cool. You know, that'll be nice to make those shadows and get all that stuff dialed in such a way. So that's gonna be like a key portion of this. Also the letters. So remember, I was saying, like, I don't know, like we either the easy direction is this direction, the harder direction would be this direction, because then we have those buildings sitting up over there. But this is kind of cool. So far so good. Hopefully this is mildly entertaining or helpful in some way. All right, so John, you done working on our presentation? You got that finished up for me yet? Let's save this, and let's see, what should we work on next here? I think I want to work on, well, we could keep going with the canopies. I think it'd be wise to keep going. ChatGPT is doing it, man. We're both off the hook. Like, I think it would be good to like finish the thought on this. Maybe we'll get in these brackets, and you know, again, those are like sticking in line with repeating elements and components. I just want to find a good view so I can like understand exactly what those are doing. I mean, it would appear that they're just kind of, as far as I can tell, they're like kind of sitting on this piece here. Let's get our windows sorted, because that's going to help us. Like, you know, we've already got this one here, so let's get the windows to kind of turn the corner here. I'm going to strike a guideline, tap the up arrow key like that, and then I'm going to make a copy of this window around the corner. And, you know, what is this distance right here? So we're looking at like 20 inches. And so I'm going to make it, you know, a clean 20. And we're going to move all these guys to be a nice clean 20 inches off there. And then we're going to make a nice clean 20 off there. And then we'll go like that. And then regarding these windows, I'm going to select the surface and jump back here, right click, and then we'll project our photo, and we don't need to trim those. Yeah, it's not 20 inches. It's something more than that. I was just kind of off on that. So let's scoot this down by 20. So let's call it like a clean 4 feet off the end. So we're gonna scoot it 28. Is that what I'm saying? 28. Let me measure this. That's 4 feet. And then we're going to need like another maybe 6, another 12, 14, 16, like that. All right. So that's decent, like that. And then maybe, you know, I might go make a reality check here, and just, you know, scoot over here and just get an eye on it. Like, you know, what are they, is there any design rule, you know, like if I were to count, you know, like 1, you know, 1.5, 1, 2. So it's kind of centered. It would appear that the windows is like centered between these two. So maybe I'll go more for that. If I were to like, you know, strike a guideline here, and I just made like a bunch of guides, whatever. And then I'll make a copy of that guide down the line like that, and then say 2 divided by enter. Oops, 2 divided by enter. And then let's see, where did we land? So now I can take this guy and I should be able to snap it like that. All right, so, you know, that's, you just got to like balance, you know, your guidance from the photograph, and then, you know, look for a design rule. You know, I wouldn't want to like get this window off center just because it's that way in the photograph, because I'm going to, you know, trash this photo eventually. This doesn't really help me right now. But like, you know, I just want to kind of look for those design rules. Like I would assume, let's just scoot back down the line, and you can see that these windows are centered on those, on this awning, these structural elements of the awning there. So that looks pretty good to me. So we're going to copy this down the line. I guess what I would do then is, you know, let me double check my measurements. Like from here to here is 10 foot 10 1/8, and from here to here is 10 foot 10 3/8. Yeah, why that would happen on the end, 10 foot 10. Let me check it again. And I feel like maybe I didn't hit my snap right. Is that possible? 10 foot 4 3/8. And then 10 foot 4 3/8. And check in the middle. Yeah, we're good. I just wasn't getting my snap clean. Yeah. All right, I'm going to clear my guides. This window's selected. I'm going to make a copy of it from here to here. And we're going to do that, what, like 6x enter? Well, I think this is where, you know, we're a little bit off based on the photograph. But if I were to scoot back a little bit over here, I mean, look at that. You know, it's kind of like this last window is really right in line. Like it really is right in line with that last piece there. And that's honestly what we ended up with. So I would stick with that. All right. And then I would say, like, you know, these guys, like, what is this? These are all, these windows would appear to be the same thing. There's a door here. We're just going to make them all windows for now. So, and we'll eventually clean that up. But I'm going to take all these guys, and, you know, it looks like maybe there's maybe a 12-inch to get to the window sill. Tap Control, copy all these down like that. And so now, you know, this match photo picture, it's a little bit more confusing to have it there. So what I might do is let's make our own texture here. Watch this. This is pretty slick. I kind of did something like this a few weeks ago. We should be able to just grab something like that and make it a unique texture. Actually, I'm gonna undo that and go to texture. Yeah, we should be able to make that unique. Sometimes it messes up. Let's try. Why is that? I'm gonna make a copy of it like that, and then just kind of get it off on its own, and then make it a unique texture. Yeah. I feel like that's a glitch. Like, I should be able to just grab this chunk and get it to be a unique texture. And if I reset the position, that's gonna jam it up. The other option is to open this in Photoshop. All right. Oops. Let's get rid of those. So I'm gonna go to texture, edit texture image, and so that's linked up to Photoshop. And in Photoshop, that should open, and then we can use what is like a perspective crop tool and create this image. Let me try that again. Edit texture image in Photoshop, and now we should be able to go to our crop tool and perspective crop. And so I'm just gonna pick like a well-lit area like this, from right above, and you know, I'm just gonna kind of make my own unique texture like that. And of course, Architectures is pretty sweet, but for what I'm doing right now, this is gonna serve my purposes, I think. So then I'm gonna export, quick export as PNG. I'll send that to my temp, call it siding, like that. Close it, no. And then we're gonna go file, import, like that, from our temp folder. And we've got this guy. We're gonna use it as a texture, and then go like that. And then we can edit that texture and you know, sample it, and we'll make it like a clean, you know, 3 feet. Let's make it smaller, like maybe 12. Actually, 24 is probably good, like that. Okay, so at least now, you know, I will eventually go and you know, start messing with, like, come up with a really nice texture for this. But for right this second, I can use pieces of that photograph just to kind of, like, you know, get something in place and get it to look right for now, like that. All right, and then let's see, what is this doing? Like that. All right, so down there, I think once it hits there, this looks pretty flat to me. So let's do this. I'm going to draw a line straight down here, and we'll call that like 54 inches, and then draw a line up to here, and then we can like push this back. Yeah, I've got something goofed up, unfortunately. Like when I'm push pulling, oh, I've got this roof line. Oh yeah, yep, got that roof line. Okay, so to get that carved out, because that ramps up, we can go like this. I can just kind of plot these points like this and like this. And then this I can push pull down, tap control even, and right click, intersect faces with model. And then we should be able to like get rid of that and get rid of that. And this is really flat right here. So why what do I have going on here? So this should come down like that. Of course, I'm just going to move it straight down rather than push pull, because push pull is kind of deleting that surface. And you know, I'm going to undo that. We're going to move it straight down to this point right there, like that. Clean up a little bit, and you know, it's easy to start working around the building and start messing with over here. But like, I'm definitely not doing anything with that side. That side's pretty dull. So we can also sample this over here, because we're not really, there's no more information left on that photo, so we might as well get rid of it. That looks good. Save this, and I'm just kind of debating like what I want to do with this piece right now. Oh, I see. Yeah, it would be wise to match this point. So let's move this down on the blue and match this point like that. Oh man, what did I just mess up? I'm sure something. Let's go look. And so those are no longer coplanar. See? You can tell I might be just a notch rusty on my match photoing, but I want to get this fixed. So this will be a good... I'm going to undo that. I'm going to undo a couple of these moves and get back to here. And I think where I could have made my life easier is like matching this height to this height over here, like that. All right, and then I should technically be able to plot like this point back to here, and then, you know, to here, and then plot it back up to here, and then erase this and erase this, and that should be fine for now. Yeah. So it doesn't matter, but it matters to me. All right, I'm gonna make a copy of this. We're gonna call this like 8 inches, and then I'm gonna copy this, and we're gonna call this like 8 inches, and then where are these colliding? You know, and they're probably not, right? See, this is where you get in this thing where it's like, you know, you're building a. This is a like they used to call them geo models, match photo models, paper models. Like, the walls don't have a thickness. You want it to just be lightweight. And so, you know, if you pull this wall out, you're kind of, I don't know, you're kind of getting beyond the detail that I would have here on this overall structure. Let's separate that sloped area by breaking the surface, and then we'll push pull those and see if we can get a better result here. So I'll use my line tool and just draw straight across like that, and then straight across like that. And then I'm going to push pull this. We're going to call this, I'll tap control, push pull it 8 inches this way, and then like we're going to push pull 8 inches this way. Let's see. All so now, so that's where they intersect. I'm just gonna live with that. That doesn't really matter. And so now, you know, on the outside, I should be able to just delete this stuff. And, you know, we have like a wall that exists like that. If I was like, I think probably where my geometry is getting wonky is that these are at different angles slightly. And so that might have been a better approach. I think what I'll do here is break this. I need to break this surface. Get this back over to here maybe. It so doesn't matter. I shouldn't be hung up on this. I should be taking my own advice, but can we do something like that? And just make it look right? I just want it to look a little bit better. Like break that. I don't want to do that either. That's fine right there. I'm gonna live with that because we'll never see it. And now I can like paint this on there, and then maybe I'll go. You know, what happens behind that truck? So again, we're just gonna copy these windows down. Like all of these guys are gonna copy down, and we'll match them. You know, exactly like what we got going on here, like that. All right, and. All right, so now let's like zoom in on one of these windows. We could probably add some detail to it. You know, we could like, I don't know, just again making a little assumption like maybe it has like a 1-inch frame around it, and then these are like, you know, roughly 1/4 inch, and they go in like inset by not much, maybe 1 inch. So I'm gonna offset this by like 1 inch. Let's call it 2 inches. The scale is a little bit hard to tell because these are big windows. And then I'm going to paint everything. Let's just paint it like a weird color like that, just so it's obvious that we need to fix it. Then these have 3 columns and then 4 rows. So when I do that, here's how I do my like windows like this. I might make a copy and say 3 divided by enter. Oh, what did I just do? Like this. 3 divided by enter. And then I would take this one and I'd make a copy and I'd say 4 divided by enter. And then I would get rid of everything except for this and make that a component. Make component, create, get rid of that. And then I'll make a copy of these guys. So 2x, enter, and then these guys, this I'm gonna delete, and then these are gonna be at 3x, enter, like that. And then I would say, you know, take all this stuff, and we're gonna scoot it back. Actually, let me hide this. I think I'm like, yeah, we've got like a, I'm gonna group this, hide this. I just have this rogue edge in here. All right. So now we're going to take all this stuff and we're going to scoot it back by say 2 inches. You know, and sometimes I do, I do exaggerate some of these dimensions to get better shadows, especially on a rendering project, which essentially this is a rendering project. And then I'll pull this back, say 2 inches, and then paint everything like that. I can delete coplanar edges, that plugin, drill in here, and then you can like, you know, offset by say 0.25 like that and get those mullions in there. And this way it makes it really easy to like, you know, update these windows rather quickly. Let's select like glass like that. And then we have like this metal that we've been using, and so we'll stick with that. Oh, and we're gonna have a fun issue come up, I can already tell. Yeah, see how this, we lost our glue too. All right, well, check this out. We should be able to get our glue 2 back. The way that the glue 2 components work is they have to have like a surface one level in on the component. Let's try it. I'm just going to draw that surface back in like that, and then erase that guy. And I'm sorry, not a surface, but like the closed loop of coplanar edges. And so that fixed my glue 2 scenario like that. You know, maybe while I'm working, because I really don't want to see the inside, I'm just going to like darken this all up into kind of a light gray, and the opacity, you know, kind of barely like that. All right, and so save, and then, you know, check your shadows. It's always kind of cool to see, you know, like we're probably going to be more in this area right here, like when I'm making my poster. But, you know, honestly, this is probably going to be where it's at right here, like this view. And we're probably going to need all those buildings over here, because when I look at that, yeah, we're going to need to work something out with that. But we might find a way to cheat. All right, I think I started to say too, I was going to make like, I like these lights too. I think I have some of those in my coffee shop model. All right, so I'm going to draw in these pieces here, like these supports, turnbuckle type things, and just see if I've got like a better view of them like that. So it looks like, you know, right on top of this member here, there's some sort of piece. So it's kind of like, you know, if I just sort out where I'm at, let's look at this one. All right, so we're just going to put it like right in front of here, like a triangle like this. All right, so maybe I'll just draw a, I'm going to hover on here and hold shift, and then kind of start my line here and go up. And I'm just going to say 6,6, just so I know what it is. I'm going to flip it this way, and then I'm going to scale it to like 12 inches. It looks like it's a 12-inch. Let's make it 12 inches by 12 inches, and then draw in a triangle like that. I think that's what it's doing. It might even be that it might be more like this, like that, and then we can make this into a component, create, and then we can double click, and then I can push. Well, we're gonna like round these off. Okay, so it might even be bigger than this. So I might just scale this by like 1.25, and then I'm going to use my arc tool and just round these corners. And if I double click, you know, and I'm not going to get hung up on, you know, making these corners perfect. Double click, and that's probably not what it would do. So we'll leave it like that. Only round the one. I'll pull it out like that, and that looks pretty good like that. All right, and then this guy now, I'm just going to use the same piece up on the building because it has a similar shape. So let's just like make a copy of this, and then I'm going to, I still like to just scale by -1 like that, and then maybe I would like rotate by 90 like that, and then get this thing up against the wall like that. And then it looks like, you know, they're sitting like a foot or two above the window. So, you know, maybe I would like snap there and like 24, you know, that looks about right to me. And then it's just kind of a thick metal pipe looking deal, right? So, oh, and then, yeah, this one has like this cross bracing going on, which could come into play. But Let's do this. Let's go. I'm going to just draw a line. Let's see if I can get like, you know, hover there, get that center point, you know, from center point to center point. And I hover to encourage that inference and then get there. All right. And then, and that, oh, I see. I'm going to cut that back out. And I'm going to undo that. That way that line doesn't exist. And then I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to select these guys, and we're going to group, well, we'll make the whole thing into a component like that. So you're always looking for repeating elements. Then this one, you know, I would say this is where it gets a little tricky, where, let's see, I want to move this and snap it to my center point. And then I might just make this into a group and then jump in that group and hide rest of the model. And then I would flip my axes to be in line with that. And I should be able to draw a circle now. No, like that. And maybe the circle's like a 1-inch radius. And then I can like push pull this to the end. No, I gotta like orbit to get my snap like that. And then I can, you know, hide this, select that edge, delete it. And you could even leave that edge. I mean, that edge could come into play at some point. So I'm gonna unhide everything, then hide that edge. And then I'm going to paint everything with that kind of dark gray, paint that with the dark gray. Oh, that's the glass. So we're going to do this, paint all that with the dark gray, and then that should be good. This is a component already, and I can tell you, I could probably just cut that component, cut it, and get into this component. So now I can just throw it in there like that. So that's pretty slick. I don't have to copy it. You know, we've already got that alignment set up. So that's looking pretty cool like that. Save it. All right, so we're at 11:44. So putting in the time today, I'm going to go for another like 10 minutes. So, and I did see from Sheik, you had a question. You notice I have black and magenta colors with 0 to 100% with 10% increase. Now, when I use this in my drawing and computer and phone, it looks good, but it's terrible in the print copy. What do I do if I'm sending clients print copy with hatch or texture? I don't know. I mean, like when it comes to the materials, I believe that you're referring to like looking at the colors. You know, I don't really have a problem with. I'm trying to think of like a time where, you know, I've had like a problem with the print, you know, coming out too dark. When it comes to perspectives, I mean, yeah, you just, you know, watch your line work and your line weights, and yeah, if it's black, it can be a good idea to back it down. You know, like black is just going to be kind of too much. Even like black paint you wouldn't really want to render it as like pure black. So, you know, just back it down a bit. But yeah, if you expand on that, let me know. Anyway, what I was going to say is I'm going to start wrapping up here. So if you have any questions or any last thoughts, definitely throw that in the chat panel, and I'll see if I can answer something for you. But otherwise, I'm going to work on maybe one more thing here. Maybe we have some more of these like turnbuckle deals back down the line. So it looks like, who's that guy? We'll get one more going like right here. And so, you know, maybe I'll like make a copy of this. I'm going to copy it back out of here, paste it, and then we're going to like, you know, grab it by the midpoint here. And I'm assuming it's something similar like that. Yeah. And then we're going to need to make this unique, and then double click in, and that's a group. These guys don't need to be unique because I'm not going to modify the shape. I'm just going to modify the location. And so I'm going to select this, and you know what? This is where that edge is going to come into play. And I'm glad I saved it. Yeah, there it is. All right, so I just, hid the rest of it for now. So now I need to scoot this whole thing down the line. We can throw a guideline here, and I'm going to back out, and then we're going to move. This is like an advanced inference. I've selected that plate, and then I'm going to move it from this intersection, and then I'm going to get my I should be able to get on that guideline there. Let me get outside like this, and then I can hold, I'm on that edge. I should be able to work with the guideline, I can come up here, so it's online, and then hold shift, and then that didn't quite, there it goes, and then hover on this surface and click. All right, so now I just move that plate, perfectly down the line there, and then I could get back in here and unhide that piece. And then I suppose with this, I would just kind of, pull this down. I guess technically I'm trying to snap it to the center point, but it just doesn't matter, really. It doesn't. So, and here I'm going to clear my guide, and then I'm going to undo that. I'm going to move this point down the line like that. And then I'm going to get out of here, clear my guides. I'm going to select this. I'm going to cut it. And then this guy, again, these are components. So I could even, I'm going to double click in, and we're going to make this into a component like that. And then I'm going to paste in place, and then I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete this, I'm going to take this and cut it and jump into this component now and paste it. So I kind of reorganized my component structure without having to redo it. So that looks pretty cool like that. All right, and if I just want to make a few more broad strokes, quick broad strokes, I might just throw this texture on here like that and like that, and maybe I'll pull this piece out. I'm going to explode that again, and then pull this out like that, and then get rid of that edge right there. Erase that. Intersect faces with model. Well, why did that go away? Yeah, I feel like I've got something goofy with this roof. I made a mistake somewhere. Well, that's part of a group. That's the problem. Right? So if I take this and make it a group, hide rest to model, and then just scoot this over to here, and then we have this thing left over. Yeah, sometimes the way you create this geometry can get it folded inside itself. That is in better shape. I'm gonna leave that in line there, and I'm gonna explode that. And I will say that when you're working on this stuff and you find a little issue like that, it'll serve you well to just fix it, now, because any little problem like that will, trickle on down the line. But again, this is more of just a kind of a rendering project that we're going to turn into vector art. But Yeah, last time for the 3D Summit, when I was creating the posters, I cheated. I just threw a picture on Fiverr, and there's a bunch of guys out there that turn a photo into vector art. That was pretty cool, but I thought this time around that I would want to build the model, and you know, it'd be more in line with the SketchUp look if I build the kind of render ready models, what I would call these back in the day. So anyways, that was fun. I was kind of getting burned out on the that mid-century modern house I've been working on, like, because this week I had to work on it. So, you know, we've been kind of covering that over and over, and I just wanted to do something different. And Monday I did get over there and check this spot out. So anyways, some of these are showing through, some of these lines, so I might just drill into here and, you know, like hide these. You can either hide them or put them on like a always off layer. But anyways, we're right there at like 11:52, and I think I'm pretty good for today. Probably go get some lunch, save this, and we'll work on this one another time. And yeah, all right. Well, I don't see anything in the chat panel, and didn't have like a massive crowd today, but that's all good. It's fun to kind of stay on point and keep doing these. So anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon.